Hello and welcome to Four Wall Chats. I'm Matt.
And I'm Bea. In this episode, we'll be hearing from an IT teacher who says he sees the crisis as a positive opportunity for education moving forward.
And we'll be talking to a parent who's homeschooling their 3 children. But first, cat.
That cat knows that plant isn't real, right?
I would suspect not. Let's talk to our first guest, Lee Parkinson. He has been an IT teacher for over 10 years.
As well as this, he also runs a business which aims to demonstrate how technology can enhance education.
Let's talk to Lee. Hey, Lee.
Hi, Lee.
Hi, guys.
It's a challenging time right now for parents to be homeschooling. What advice do you give them?
Well, it is. It's a very tough time for everyone, and there's so much sort of uncertainty. And I think what for parents, it's just be sort of realistic with it. Your job at the minute is not to replicate school, because you can't do it. And I don't want parents putting themselves under that sort of pressure, because there's so many other stresses, so many other worries going on with possibly jobs, work, and everything like that. You know your children better than anyone else. So, I think there's certain things that children thrive from. So, my tips would be, have some sort of routine during the day. We've noticed that because we did let the children have sort of 2 weeks as their Easter break, where we did just let them have, a bit of free time, and we weren't sort of doing homeschooling, so to speak. And it's been tough this week trying to get them back into the routine, but children thrive from having that sort of routine. I try and focus on the positives here, in that I'm hoping it's given a lot of families a little bit of time to sort of take a step back and go, actually, let's just spend some time together doing something like cooking, gardening. I'll teach you how to tie your shoelaces. Education can come in so many wonderful and amazing ways. It doesn't have to be structured to a maths lesson, an English lesson. And, what I'd like for my children especially is I want them to look back at this time and not deem it this worrying, sort of stressful pandemic. But this was a time where we stayed in the garden until it went dark and we were playing football. We sat there and watched a film, laughing our heads off. What parents have is the opportunity to control what this experience is going to be like for their children.
Now, a lot of what is at the centre of your work is, encouraging teachers to work smarter, not harder, and a lot of that is to do with technology. In terms of technology, do you think there's a way in which parents can integrate that into their homeschooling, and is it something that you are encouraging during this time?
With my 2 boys, so I've got 9-year-old triplets that I'm having to look after at the minute. So the 2 boys, they really struggle with certain aspects of reading and writing. They've both got dyslexia and do struggle with that. So, it's been nice for me to have a bit of time to actually take a step back and look at some ways in which technology can really support them. There's plenty of stuff out there. And like I say, for parents, if you do want to find something more, there's so many other tools. BBC have obviously launched the bite-sized daily lessons there. Oak Academy are another one. Group of teachers have come together and they're providing lessons for every year group. Obviously, Twinkle, MC Grammar does live lessons. In fact, on my website, I've put a link to all the different resources that you can access, not just for teachers, but parents as well.
Once this crisis is over, what do you think the education system will take from all this?
Well, I hope it will sort of realise the potential to technology and try to integrate that a lot more in our day-to-day running of schools. I've talked about this all the time. So, I've said for many a year, a tool like Seesaw, although it can help massively with home learning, but the way that our schools approached it is that it's almost been like a digital exercise book. So it gives teachers the opportunity to be more creative with their teaching, because not everything has to be on a piece of paper and not everything has to be stuck in an exercise book. I hope that as a profession, we're giving a little bit more respect than we have done over the past few years. I think, and you see it with a lot of posts on social media, parents realising that it is quite difficult. It's not an easy job to do. There's always that saying, those who can do, those who can't teach. Well, actually, I even as a teacher, I struggle with my 3. giving me 35 kids in my school all day over a couple of hours with my kids, So I'm hoping it does give us a bit more respect and as a profession. And like I say, hopefully a lot of schools will be giving that, see the perspective and sort of say, right, well, actually what we were doing before, asking teachers to do this work or fill in this data and this, that and the other, actually that's not really important. And maybe just get a lot of schools to think, what are we trying to achieve through this education? Is it about simply getting children to pass a test? Is it about filling in these data sheets and treating the children as little sort of numbers on a spreadsheet? Or is it about developing the whole child and, giving children a vast range of experiences, and building their knowledge and understanding in, a whole range of different subjects?
Thank you so much, Lee. Honestly, really appreciate talking to you today. And, obviously it's brilliant what you do. And I'm sure a lot of parents and teachers will take inspiration, especially during this time, but also and beyond. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. It's been awesome talking to you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, he's a lovely guy, isn't he?
Really lovely.
Also got a very good taste in fashion.
Yes, I did pick that jumper for you.
Anyway, Kakam!
Doing what all cats do best, nothing.
Let's talk to Sam. She's currently homeschooling her 3 children whilst working from home. Hey, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you doing?
Not too bad. I can hear the kids screaming downstairs.
Gosh.
So, as a parent, how are you finding homeschooling?
Well, I am probably one of the luckier ones, as I am married to a teacher. So that is obviously helpful. Although Richard is a secondary school teacher and my daughter is at primary school. And then we've got a daughter, our youngest daughter is in nursery. So I think the hardest thing that we found is having kids of different ages. What entertains and works for one doesn't necessarily work for the other.
Because parents have obviously had to step in, like yourself, into almost not a teacher role, but more of a teacher role than they would have beforehand, having depended on schools to do all of this. So I'm guessing that it's gotten better as time's gone on because you've been able to learn what does and doesn't work.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's really important to remember, and certainly actually seeing posts on social media helped me to remember that we're not in the Victorian era. Like, children are not sat at desks from 9 until 3 learning constantly. That's not how they learn. They do it in short, sharp bursts. And then they're doing creative stuff or they've got playtime. And so we've tried to just keep kind of doing maths and English, the core subjects that they want us to do with them, in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we've been going on nature walks, and we bought bird spotting books and butterfly books, and we sort of watched spring happen with them. And that's been, something we've never done with them before. So that's been kind of wonderful for us.
So technology plays a big part in education with the use of the internet and certain apps. How big a part does it play in homeschooling for you?
It's played for us certainly a massive part. Florence was already using certain apps like Education City and Mathletics through the school. So it wasn't anything new. And there are certain things in it that she absolutely loves doing. So she sees racing against people across the world in English and maths as really exciting and fun. So she will happily sit and do that for an hour when she wants. And it's great for when Richard needs to, although he's a teacher and he's not at school, he is still teaching and is still working. So when he needs some time to concentrate on some emails and do some marking, he puts that on for her. On YouTube, they've been watching science shows. Like 11 a.m. every morning, they're watching Maddie Mo, and they just think she's brilliant, and they just sit and they're enraptured for half an hour, which, when you've been trying to homeschool for an hour before that, it's nice to sit down with a cup of coffee and just breathe until Maddie Mo suggests they go and make something, and you realise, oh no, I'm going to have to make that later. But it's invaluable, and I hope it is accessible to as many people as possible.
On days where you are sort of working from home, how are you finding juggling sort of working from home with homeschooling?
Well, I mean, for me personally, Richard really does take over during that time. Particularly with my job, I have to be on conference calls or doing Skype interviews, or being out and about in the community. And he's been really good at using those online resources. So if I say to him, I've got an interview at 11 a.m., he'll, I try and time it with Maddie Moat, etc. So we're trying to work together to make sure that there can be silence in the house so I can get my work done. But equally in my lunch break, I'll take over so that he can go back and do his emails and any marking that he's got to do.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
No, you're welcome. I look forward to seeing it.
All right, you take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, both of those interviews are great because it's something I hadn't thought about, the pressure that teachers have. And I think it's great that the parents are now understanding those pressures. Absolutely.
The responsibility, that are on teachers' shoulders is huge. And I think, like you say, I think that hopefully by going through this experience, parents will better understand it.
Definitely. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please like, share and comment. Stay strong and safe, beautiful people.